Yes. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, public notice of this meeting has been given by the board secretary in the following manner. Posting written notice of the official bulletin board at the Voorhees Township Public Schools Administrative Building on July 6, 2022, sending written notice to the Courier Post on July 6, 2022, filing written notice with the clerk of Voorhees Township on July 6, 2022, and posting on the Voorhees Township website on July 6, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board Secretary, will you call the roll?
Mr. Bryce? Mrs. Cosenza?
Here.
Dr. Falk?
Here.
Ms. Galliano?
Here.
Ms. Kedover?
Here.
Dr. Levy?
Here.
Mr. Schmus?
Here.
Mrs. Stupler?
Here.
Mrs. Watson?
Here. So good evening, everyone. I'm happy to have all of you here, but I am incredibly excited. This is my favorite part of this job. I'm so happy to have Mr. Mike Farrell here today. He is getting the 25-year service award. We have two individuals who are not here today, but we love them all the same, Mrs. Doreen Brannon and Miss Lois Hensel. But I wanted to say a couple of quick words about Mr. Mike Farrell. Mr. Farrell has worked in the district for 25 years, traveling between Crescent, Osage, and Voorhees Middle School. He is the band instructor for grades 4th through 8th. He has worked with the New Jersey Elementary Honors Band and All South Band and has performed in over 80 different musical productions as a percussionist. He holds a bachelor's degree in music education, music performance, and a master's degree in technology. In addition, Mr. Farrell has been the CER Summer Camp Director for 15 years. Thank you, Mr. Farrell, for your dedication to the Voorhees community. I cannot say enough and provide enough gratitude on behalf of the entire board for the wonderful 25 years of service that you have committed to this community. We thank you. All of the students continue to learn from you, and we are so incredibly lucky to have you in this community. I have you come up. Thank you so very much. I also want to recognize Mrs. Doreen Brannon. She's a teacher at E.T. Hamilton School. Mrs. Brannon was hired in 1996 and began teaching 2nd grade at Crescent School. She then went on to E.T. Hamilton School to teach 3rd grade. After teaching 3rd grade for 3 years, she began teaching 5th grade at E.T. Hamilton, where she is currently teaching today. Mrs. Brannon has also participated in various district committees. Miss Lois Hensel is the secretary at Osage Elementary School. Ms. Hensel has worked at Osage for 25 years. She has worked under 3 building principals. Ms. Hensel has been a partner with the Osage Parent Group and was the chair to many fundraising activities for the school. Her children attended the Voorhees schools, and her daughter is currently a teacher at E.T. Hamilton. Our sincere appreciation and thank you to Mrs. Brannon and Ms. Hensel for their wonderful service. I'm sorry they couldn't be with us today, but we, again, are incredibly grateful. Okay. We have several items under information. Fire drills and safety drills are shown on the attachment. I'm sorry, I skipped one. I went too fast. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the September 28th, 2022 meeting?
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Wait, did I miss something else?
I'm opening up the online voting. I have all votes of yes, with one abstention from Ms. Galliano. Motion carries.
There are several items under information items, fire drills and safety drills as shown on the attachments, the bus evacuation drills as shown on the attachments, the HIB report, enrollment as of October 15th, 2022, and the suspensions. We have two Oprah requests that came in last month, both of which have been closed out. Board secretary report.
Okay, thank you. The first item under the board secretary's report is really just a reminder that the upcoming election is November 8th. For checking results, you have to go to the County Board of Elections. The school district really doesn't have any part in it, but we just wanted to put that out as a reminder and to say check the County Board of Elections for results that night and thereafter. The next item is the budget calendar. This time of year, we put together a budget calendar. It lays out the budget process and the key dates and the key meetings that we have throughout the process up until when we approve it and then what happens after that. So that's something that we do each year. And then the third item is our preschool expansion aid update, PIA update. We opened the full day kindergarten on October 3rd. It was a very exciting day. And we had our ceremonial ribbon cutting on October 11th. There's two items on the agenda addressing PIA. And one, even though we just got approved and started this program for 22-23, we already have to submit the annual preschool plan for 23-24. And that's due on November 15th. So we had to turn it around real fast and finish that one. We're projecting about 190 students next year. We currently have 6 classrooms, so that would mean adding 8 more. We're going to have a lunch and learn meeting with potential providers on October 28th. Right now we have 1 provider, but we would really need to increase that to additional ones in order to offer this to 190 students. There's another item, 20.12, which is the preschool classroom size waiver for 22-23. Initially, we were going to, the requirements for class square footage is 950. If it's under that, you have to do waivers. And so the minimum, it could be 700. But we had picked 1 classroom and we changed it because there was no toilet room in that one. So we picked 2 other ones and they are 878 and 872. So we have to file a waiver for that just because it's under the 950. There's still plenty of room. The state came out and looked at those rooms and was satisfied with how it looked. So everything is fine there. We just need to have this board approved, and then we will have to do it again for the 23-24 year once we know what providers we're going with and the size of their classrooms. But again, you don't need a waiver if the classroom is 950 square feet, which would include the toilet room and a closet. But if it's under that, you just explain why it's still okay and that it's under the 950. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent report.
Thank you very much. Good evening to the Voorhees Township community, members and stakeholders. As we embrace the fall season and observe the change and transformation that fills the air as leaves change colors and fall to the ground, we are reminded that transformation is occurring. As with the fall, it's important to recognize transformation in the form of leadership. Transformational leadership is to empower and encourage a team to realize overall success. In the Voorhees Township Public Schools, we are promoting and supporting the importance of working together as a team in this transformative time in education. We're working together as a team through some of the following actions. We have now developed teacher leaders who will provide training and coaching for our staff. We're working with vendors to provide training and coaching for our staff. We have key communicating meetings 3 times a year. We have PFA meetings 3 times a year. I meet with the Voorhees Township Education Association monthly, and I meet with the Voorhees Township Administrators Association quarterly. There are 4 superintendents forums. We're having targeted committees made up of staff members. Our World Language Committee is almost ready to begin their work for a World Language program for next year. There are currently 13 parent workshops available for our parents. And I'm in the process now of meeting with the Voorhees Middle School Student Council members. I'll meet with them once a month to hear their voice. And also I will be meeting with 4th and 5th grade students that principals select from their schools so I can hear their voice. So all those things I just mentioned involve teachers, administrators, parents working together as a team so that we can move the district forward. At this time, I'd like to respond to questions that were presented at the September board meeting. One of the questions asked was, what are our current STEM opportunities in the district? Each librarian provides maker spaces. A maker space is a collaborative workspace for making, learning, exploring, and sharing that uses high-tech to low-tech tools. Students can engage in a variety of activities such as Legos, Raspberry Pi, craft-type tasks, etc. Students are exposed during library class. Also, students can come during their lunch or recess to work on activities of interest. Classroom teachers can also check out materials. STEM is integrated into each content area, and you can find that on our Atlas program, which lists all of our curriculum guides. Coding is a focus at the elementary level. The technology specialists work with homeroom teachers as they participate in the hour of code. Coding is a related art at our middle school. All middle school students must participate in at least one STEM-related activity each year, or class each year. We have 3 STEM-related arts classes: gaming, coding, and STEM. So although coding is a specific class, each STEM class does have coding in its plan. And many of our students participate in STEAM Tank Challenge through New Jersey school boards, and we always have many finalists. So of course, we will continue to always integrate coding and STEM into our curriculum, but we believe that we have a strong curriculum in the area of coding and STEM. Someone asked about Advocates for Youth, and this is an organization where we use them and for lesson plans for our health lessons, and those lesson plans were modified. So we found that resource online. Other districts are using Advocates for Youth as well. We modified their lesson plans so that we only focused on the core state health standards. So we did not use their lesson plans completely. We modified them to only focus on what the core state standards required us to focus on. According to their website, Advocates for Youth envisions a society in which all young people are valued, respected, and treated with dignity. Sexuality is accepted as a healthy part of being human, and youth sexual development is normalized and embraced. There was another question regarding an advisory committee, and the question referenced policy number 9140, which is a citizens advisory committee. I did read policy 9140, both in the regulation. Both indicate that board members can establish an advisory committee of any type if they believe there is a need to do so, and or the superintendent advises them of the need for a committee. I believe that the question related to a curriculum advisory committee. So at this time, there is no specific reference in policy 9140 that relates to curriculum. How are we addressing learning loss was another question asked. We have professional development on small group instruction for our teachers. We have, again, lead teachers, reading specialists who will be providing targeted professional development for our teachers. We're using the Atlas program, which is going to ensure consistency across the district in how teachers teach the curriculum. We're using outside vendors to train our elementary teachers on the writing process and our middle school teachers on small group instruction. Struggling students are provided with 1 hour instruction before school in our elementary schools. Struggling 6th grade students receive an hour of instruction prior to the start of the school day. For 2 years, we provided an intensive summer school program, and we will do the same this year. Reading and math labs have been created for struggling students at the middle school. And there's an increased inclusion for students eligible for special education services, and that's the focus of our child study team, for increased inclusion. So those are how we are addressing learning loss at this time. How are we providing assistance to teachers in regard to lesson planning and support for the implementation of all aspects of the curriculum? So all districts were required to update our curriculum by September 2022, and we have done that. And I want to commend Dr. Young on doing such a fabulous job in her team. Dr. Young and her team worked the entire summer to ensure our curriculum guides were aligned to the standards. And for the most part, very few changes were necessary. The major changes occurred, of course, in our health and PE curriculum. Teachers were trained on the Atlas program. All curriculum guides and resources are available in Atlas and gives the teachers very detailed information as to how to teach the standards. Dr. Young has had a very engaging and informative PLC meetings for Tuesday and Wednesday, and I attended both of them, and she did a fabulous job. Each grade level, K to 5, is meeting a half a day with Dr. Young while she goes over some very key areas that the teachers had asked for additional support. That's differentiated instruction, small group instruction, lesson planning, the Atlas program, world language, and our Move This World program. So Dr. Young is covering all those topics in about 2.5 hours with each of our grade level teachers. I attended the workshops and it was very informative. The teachers were very engaged. And a couple of things I heard throughout the workshops: can we do this every month? Is what one teacher asked. One teacher said, I feel better now. Another teacher said, I understand now. So again, I want to commend Dr. Young for very informative PLCs. She has 2 more tomorrow, and then she would have covered all K-5 teachers. I also want to take the time to thank our principals and our teachers in our buildings for helping to cover classes while those teachers were at the PLCs. That's part of the teamwork that I'm referring to. In order for those teachers to get training, principals had to cover classes and other teachers had to cover classes. I just want to take an opportunity to thank everyone for their team spirit to make sure those teachers were able to come and get some much needed professional development. World language, I just want to let you know that our committee is, I believe, almost there, ready to start their work. So we did hear the concerns of parents about world language, and we're putting a committee together to look at some options for next year. There was a couple of questions about school safety. The district works with the Voorhees Police Department to ensure that we are using best practices for school safety. Our district plan is approved by the New Jersey Department of Education every year. For anybody who wants to know more about our safety program, there will be a virtual parent workshop on October 27th at 6 p.m. And I will be co-presenting that workshop with members of the Voorhees Township Police Department. So if you'd like to know any more about school safety, please attend that parent workshop. All of our parent workshops are listed on the website with the link. So during the workshop, parents will engage in a conversation about school safety policies and procedures, preventive resources for students, families, and school personnel, type of communication channels we use, and also the 4 emergency drills that we are required to do every year. So please attend that workshop. It would be very, very informative. We had a parent who addressed the district regarding policy number 9130. This parent presented 6 books that she felt should not be in our middle school library. We met as a committee, made up of myself, Dr. Young, and some other staff members to review those 6 books. And we made 1 book is on the agenda tonight to be removed from the middle school library. And the reason that book is being removed, it is because it is a 6th grade reading level, but it's a 9 to 12 interest level. So we are removing the book because it has interest level of 9th to 12th grade. All other books are remaining in the library. There were some slight changes we made. 1 book went from permission only required for 6th graders to permission required from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or 8th grade. The remaining books remained as well as is as far as our parameters are concerned. But I thank that parent for bringing these books to our attention, and this is what we do as a district. We implement our policy when we get any questions or concerns. There will be a parent virtual workshop held on November the 15th. This one is in person. So we have 12 virtual workshops, but this particular workshop will be in person. The workshop was scheduled as a response to the request of our parents who wanted to engage in a workshop that talked about the language of our LGBT community, understanding what the specific terms, when they hear a term, what does that term mean? So parents wanted to get more information about that. So in response to our parents who asked for this workshop, it is scheduled for November 15th at 7 o'clock in the middle school theater. We had to cap the number at 100 because we wanted to be an interactive workshop. However, if we get more than 100 parents who are expressing interest, we will have another workshop. And the title of the workshop is The Power of Language, Understanding the Differences Between Sex Assigned at Birth, Gender Identity, Sexuality, and Expression. So again, as our parents request things, we definitely try to make sure that we give parents what they need. On this agenda tonight is our preschool instructional coach. We're excited to have the board vote on this person. This person has extensive knowledge in the preschool curriculum and has worked with coaching and supporting teachers in the past. At the last board meeting, there was a commendation for our principals for attending our board meetings. And the Voorhees Township Public Schools District has a great group of principals who work extremely hard to support the overall operation of not only their schools, but the entire district. And to respect the amount of time that they devote to their schools, I have advised principals that they are only asked to attend the June, August, and the reorganization board meetings. For all other meetings, they have been asked to have one principal attend and turnkey the information. So I would like to, at this time, welcome Ms. Stalling as our principal representative tonight. There is an amazing group of principals here and they work very hard, probably more nice than you can imagine. They're working very late and we want to make sure we respect their time as well. And our Board of Education sound system has been ordered. It was ordered on October 6th. At this time, we don't have an approximate delivery date yet, but it has been ordered. There are still some supply chain issues, but hopefully we will get it soon, but it has been ordered. Okay, you're very welcome. At this time, I'd like to conclude my report by having Ms. Downey come up and she's going to do the annual report on student safety data system. We have to do this annually.
Good evening. I have a very brief PowerPoint presentation to share. Basically, it just has some data. Our student safety data system is something that the state requires for reporting purposes. It's the old violence and vandalism, electronic violence and vandalism report, and it's now called the student safety data system. We report, each school reports any incidents that occur 2 times during the school year, reports in the end of December, and then another report at the end of June. And what I'm going to share with you is our data from last school year, so the 21-22 school year, just the total of all of our incidents and in what categories they fall. So Mr. Taylor, if you could go to the next slide. Oh, it's really small, so I know you're going to have a hard time. I just posted some basic examples of things that could be reported. And this is a really touchy kind of subject because when you see things like weapon and weapon use and weapon possession or weapon sale and distribution. So I wanted to kind of talk about that because if you see a school that had an incident where we reported a weapon, we are a K-8 district, not that things can't happen, but a weapon could be something as simple as a threat made with scissors. Safety scissors with the curve. So, but we do report it, and it is considered a weapon. If a student were to say something like, I'm going to poke you with these scissors, that's something that we do take serious and we do still report it. But violence is one category, vandalism is another, substances, weapons, and then harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Examples of violence could be simple altercations, physical altercation among students. That's going to categorize as a violent incident. Vandalism is destruction of school property. Kids do tend to walk down the hall and they might bump into something purposely, or if they're pushed another student and they knock something over and something were to break, that would be considered vandalism. Substances, any type of substance abuse in school or paraphernalia that would be found, and then our guards will discuss weapons. So if you take a look at the next slide, please. Again, it's hard to see what the data is, but I'm going to go through violence. We had 1 incident reported at E.T. Hamilton for the school year. We had 5 at Crescent, 1 at Osage, 1 at Signal Hill, and 8 at the middle school. And for our incidents of violence, were physical altercations in all cases. Vandalism, we had 1 at Osage and 1 at the middle school, 0 at Hamilton, 0 at Crescent, 0 at Signal Hill. And again, that's destruction of school property. Substances, 0 across the board, no school was reported. We did have 1 weapon at Signal Hill. Again, very minor reported elementary school. I'm going to stab you with these scissors type of an active event incident that happened. And then it does also record our confirmed cases of harassment, intimidation, bullying, and our alleged cases. So for Crescent, we had 1 that was confirmed, Osage, we had 1 confirmed, Signal Hill 2, and Voorhees Middle School, we had 5. Then we had alleged, meaning that we did an investigation and it was not found to rise to the level of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. There were 0 at UT Hamilton, 1 at Crescent, 2 at Osage, 1 at Signal Hill, and 15 at Voorhees Middle School. So that is the data that was sent to the state of New Jersey through our SSDS reporting system. This part does open for public comment. So does anyone have any questions regarding this specific data? Thank you.
Thank you. If I could have Dr. Levy provide a policy committee update.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Watson. Earlier this evening, we reviewed 2 policies for second reading. They are on the agenda for this evening. The first was 9700, special interest groups, and the second was 2425, emergency virtual remote instruction program. We also reviewed 1 policy for a first read, which will be on the agenda next meeting. That's 5512, harassment, intimidation, or bullying. That policy has revised language to match our state template, updated reporting guidelines, and specified training intervention for students who are involved in 3 HIBs in 1 school year. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Audience participation. Anyone wishing to address the board, please attach the back table and write your name and address on the login sheet. If you are attending via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature to be acknowledged. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public relating to items on the agenda for the board meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at some later time by letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in the context of a later board meeting of any action the board does take. I'm assuming everybody wants to go see the Phillies. Okay. All right. Comments from the board?
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to thank Dr. Hackett and her team for hosting a terrific ribbon cutting at the Early Childhood Center, October 11th. It was very well put together. It's a beautiful place. I encourage anybody who happens to be in the area of Crescent to stop by and take a look at it. It's really, really impressive. Thank you.
I have a comment.
Yes, Dr. Levy.
I'd like to thank Dr. Hackett for installing this new practice of responding to the issues that come up at the previous board meeting. I appreciated hearing all of those, even from a board perspective. I get to see some of these things implemented, and some of them I don't ever see or really know the answers to. So I appreciate that transparency. Thank you.
Any other board members? Okay. Transportation. Can I have a motion to approve all of the items under transportation?
I'll second.
Voting is open.
John.
It won't come up. Mr. Schmutz, can I just ask you how you would like to vote?
Sure.
What would be your answer?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Unanimously passes. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve all of the items under policy 13.1 to 13.3?
So
Motion
moved.
to approve. Second.
Thank you. Online voting is open.
Vote yes on that.
Okay, yes, okay.
Might be mine.
Okay, that's fine. I got it. The motion unanimously passes. I'm closing online voting. Thank you.
Personnel, these are superintendent recommended items for our approval under section 14. Can I get a motion to approve all of the items under personnel?
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Online voting is open.
I'll vote yes on that.
All right, thank you. The motion unanimously passes. I'm closing the voting. Thank you.
There are no items under deferred action. New business. Can I get a motion to approve all of the items under new business?
So moved. Second.
Online voting is open. Motion unanimously passes. Closing voting.
Our next meeting is at the Administration Building at 7 PM on November 16th. Again, I want to reiterate, the election will be held on November 8th. Audience participation. Anyone wishing to address the board, please approach the back table and write your name and address on the login sheet. If you are attending via Zoom, please use the raise their hand feature to be acknowledged. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at some later time by a letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in the context of a later board meeting of any action the board does take.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Simpkin. Recently, I just had an opportunity to talk to a lot of members of our community. And I do have a list of things, positive, negative, some concerns. But one thing that resonated a lot, more often than I expected, under concerns about learning loss, there is concern that we don't have enough classroom aids. Using small group differentiated instruction, there seems to be a lot of concern that students that have completed the task will not have anything to do after they're done the tasks. And some people mentioned that other towns, just seem to have a lot more classroom aids. And I think that the big overwhelming concern really is the learning loss, and I found that to be very important. And if it's okay, I will email the rest of the feedback that I've received to the board. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Terry Dell. I just want to ask you, I believe last meeting we brought up some concerns about putting some of the holiday listing on the calendar, on the school calendar. We mentioned that. I guess maybe that slipped in mind. We didn't hear about, what we discussed about that from last time. So I was just bringing that up again to find out part of, diversity, finding out, because we used to have it on the calendar, why, we had off the kids wanted to know why we had all today, it's not listed. So just kind of curious if we can add that back onto the school calendar. To find out.
Sure. So last meeting I did talk about Diwali, and then the calendar issue came up at the 90-day forum, and it was about putting the dates as the reason why we're off. And when we meet with the calendar committee, which is around January, that will be something I'll bring up, but to put the dates as to why we're off.
Right, right,
Yes.
yeah, whether it's, in-service
Correct.
days, because it used to be on our,
Yes.
the holidays, so that's basically what I just wanted to bring up. And again, where we were at with the Wally film as
Yeah,
well.
I did mention at the last meeting that we did have a meeting with someone from the Indian community, and we're doing our research. And right now, we found that in our area, only Cherry Hill has it, and Eastern does not. So we're still doing research right now.
Okay, all right, and then I'm going to speak to you privately later on about the books that we discussed.
Sure.
Which ones that we were referring to.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julianne Birdie. I'm a Voorhees resident and mother of 4 young children, ages 7, 4, 2, and 2 months old. I want to thank Dr. Hackett for explaining some of the STEAM opportunities available in the Voorhees schools. That was really informative, and I'm hearing about a lot of these for the first time, so I'm really glad to hear about them. And I hope that we can continue to build on these programs to bring even more of these STEAM-based opportunities for our students. One idea to bring more STEAM-based opportunities to Voorhees that I wanted to propose for this board to consider has to do with CER. Over the past few months, I've had lots of conversations with families across Voorhees, and one theme that has come up often is dissatisfaction with the current CER programs offered by the Voorhees School District. Around the playground, working parents lament that it's, and I quote, babysitting, glorified babysitting. These are the things that I've heard multiple times. And that parents have a lot of guilt over having to send their kids. And that kids spend way too much time on their iPads or watching movies and not enough time being meaningfully engaged. The kids say it's boring. This is not a criticism of our teachers staffing the current program, but I think it's an opportunity for us to look at it and think about ways to improve it and make it more engaging. I grew up in New York City and I was a latchkey kid. Believe it or not, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed latchkey. There were arts and crafts opportunities. We played sports. There was always something fun going on. And there were some days where I attended after school clubs 1 or 2 days a week before going to latchkey, run by my elementary school. One was art-based, another was theater. And I have such vivid memories of it being such a positive experience. Neighboring districts already offer after-school programs like what I had growing up. And I implore this board to consider exploration of bringing after-school programming to Voorhees. Like traditional CER aftercare, these clubs would have limited spots available and be fee-based for families to help cover the expense of staffing, materials, and other related costs. Club options could include things like coding, chess, painting, crafting, theater, sports, debate. Less TV time, less mindless scrolling on a device, and more time for students to explore their interests, be exposed to new learning opportunities, and be meaningfully engaged during hours when parents and guardians may still be working. I look forward to discussing this idea and opportunity with you further, and I thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Hi, Dana Brown. I just, my only question is, I wanted to find out more information about how we're teaming up with Berlin Borough, Gibbsboro, and Voorhees. Like, are we seeing how their students are doing compared to Voorhees students? Are we seeing maybe programs that are flowing through each other? Like, I just want to know, I guess, how that works, because I have no idea at this point. So, any information? Thank you.
Thank you.
evening. My name is Jennifer Branch Stewart. I'm a long-term resident of Voorhees. I actually grew up here. I attended Signal Hill, BMS, and Eastern. I'm now raising 4 kids in the district with my husband, and they all attend the Voorhees Public School. I have brief comments tonight about something that Dr. Hackett has talked about, the impending diversity audit for the district. I just want to throw my support toward the audit. I think it could be a good way to identify some factors that are leading to the lower test scores that we're seeing amongst children in the minority subgroups. It could also be a way to further tailor the curriculum to include more age-appropriate learning opportunities, regarding different cultures, ethnicities, historical facts, gender, sexuality, preferences, abilities. It could also identify and address some ways to augment our already wonderful teaching and administrative staff in the district with qualified, certified professionals with various diverse backgrounds. Along those same lines, I'm also involved with the Voorhees Cultural Diversity Committee, and I look forward to meeting with Dr. Hackett and to hopefully get involved with the district and work together on some important and fun DEI and community outreach initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lou Horvitz.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, I really appreciate the time to discuss current events with the recent CDC comments today and likely vote for tomorrow. In that context, fear, it's paved the way for governors to shut down businesses and schools. It's also paved the way to justify remote learning and mask mandates without any science or statistically driven guidance. Today, the CDC, they voted 15-0 to give liability protection to Big Pharma and themselves. The vote had nothing to do with high efficacy rates or safety rates. It had everything to do with covering Big Pharma, the CDC, the FDA, and anyone else who was pushing these vaccines on children. So what if Murphy and the New Jersey Department of Health push a vaccine mandate for K through 12 attendance? I'm concerned that an mRNA injection mandate would pose an even bigger public education disaster than the learning setbacks that were caused by the shutdowns, remote learning, and mask mandates. And for this reason, now more than ever, we need board leaders who think for themselves, who won't just rubber stamp every mandate handed down by Trenton, who will always prioritize what's best for Voorhees. And now more than ever, we need leaders willing to promote educational excellence, parents' rights, and keeping politics out of public education. We need leaders who are accountable, transparent, honest, respectful of the constituents, and in particular of the parents. I greatly appreciate you giving me time. I think we're going to hear a lot more about what these CDC recommendations mean, and I hope we don't have to go through more of the same. Thanks so much for your time.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Kara Thornton. My pronouns are she and her. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to say the pronouns. I firstly wanted to ask, I wanted to know which book was removed from the library and specifically why. Secondly on that, removing books or requiring parental permission is a slippery slope into censorship. Why does one single loud parent have a say in what is appropriate or not? I do not need any parent deciding what my child is able to or not supposed to read. If a book is going to be requested to be removed or made difficult to check out, perhaps that person should actually read the book before making sweeping generalizations about literature they don't understand. Having well-read children is the pathway forward to having adults who can think critically, which clearly is lacking in these parents trying to ban books. Along the same lines, my 13-year-old social studies teacher, he's in 8th grade, said he cannot speak about current events to students because of parents who are complaining. Current events are just that, current events, and are an integral part of our children's education. To have teachers cowed by certain parents to the detriment of my child's education, frankly, I'm sick of it. Please reinforce to our teachers that they are doing the teaching, and a handful of parents do not run the schools. Let the teachers do their job. Please push back on these parents who are causing harm. Thank you.
Hi, Deborah Wellings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I just one quick comment as to the books that Dr. Hackett had mentioned that have been removed, or I guess one was removed and the other ones are remaining. Can you please release those titles to the parents in the schools so they know that there might be a controversial book that is being able to be accessed by their child, and they may not want their child to be exposed to that book, whether or not they're, regardless, there should be some choice here. I think that books that contain certain language and certain topics that are controversial should not be made, or anyway, the parents should know what their child can access. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Hackett to address the question since several parents have brought it up and we have the information readily available.
Okay, so there were 6 books, as I mentioned earlier. The parent did get an email with a decision based on all 6 books. The first book, Being Jazz, My Life as a Transgender Teen, the committee determined that there will be no changes to the parameters of this book. The current parameters are parent permission is required for grade 6, and it's available to all 7th and 8th grade. That was in place prior to the parents' complaint, and the committee determined that there would be no changes made to that current parameters of that book. The second book was called The Bluest Eye. This book is only available to teachers. So it was in the library, so I guess it appeared on some list, but it's only available for teachers. Students never read this book or were able to check out this book. The third book is called Sold, S-O-L-D, and the committee determined that parent permission would be needed for this book 6 to 8. It does speak about human trafficking, and there are some language in there that we believe that the parents should just know that the child is reading this book. So the requirement before the committee met was that only 6th grade parents would have to have permission, but we decided that all parents permission would be needed for any child who read this book. The fourth book was 13 Reasons Why, and there was a current practice of the librarian informing the guidance council when this book was checked out, and the committee determined that that practice would continue. The fifth book was The Perks of Being a Wallflower. This is the book that's on the agenda for removal. Again, the book is at a reading level grade 6, but an interest level grades 9 to 12. And that is the only reason the book is being removed, because it's a 9 to 12 interest level. The sixth book is Poet X, and the committee determined that there will be no changes made to the current parameters of this book, which was it's only available to 8th grade students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Denise Vogel. I have 2 children at GMS, an 8th grader and a 7th grader. I want to thank everybody here, sitting up here, for your volunteer time and for doing what you do. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say, I wanted to commend the coaches at BMS, especially field hockey coaches, but I know that the other coaches are working hard. My girl has learned so much because of them, and they are giving more time after school, especially they have their own families. And I'm just really proud of our staff at BMS. My kids went to Signal Hill, and it's been a wonderful just experience all throughout for my children. I'm also a Voorhees kid. And also I wanted to just put it in there to continue with these family nights, even though we had this board meeting tonight, and I'm happy to come because I like to be informed, but I love the family nights. I don't have that many left a couple of years from now because they're going to Eastern, but I really love the idea. I think it has brought a lot of families together, and I just would love to see that continue. So please, but maybe board meetings. I know the calendars are crazy, but thank you for, that's all.
Thank you. Duly noted. Any other comments? Comments from the board?
I have a question.
Yes.
On the topic of the books, is that similar to, I guess, school districts surrounding our area? Do they have similar books and are those titles all pulled from those? Is it?
So I'm not sure where the parent who brought the titles to my attention, where that parent received those particular 6 titles.
Okay.
But once we determined that those 6 titles were in our library, according to the policy, a committee has to be formed. I think it was about 7 of us, Dr. Young, about 7 of us on the committee.
And who makes up that committee?
Dr. And you might have to help me out, Dr. Young. It's Dr. Young, myself, the principal of the middle school.
No, I'm just curious, is it teachers and it?
Teachers,
Okay.
teachers and administrators.
And guidance counselor and
And-
psychologist.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you.
I just was curious if it's similar to surrounding districts.
I'm not sure if those books were brought to a surrounding district.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank
I'm
you.
not sure.
I actually have a question about the book banning or removal rather as well. I've been a parent in this district for a long time, and I've actually no transparency around the process for how books are audited, whether it's an annual thing, whether a parent can come in and simply say, I don't like this book, and here's why. It strikes me that with this particular book, this was one person's complaint, and then it was brought to a committee, but that book, how long has that book been there without any issue?
So there's an extensive process that the librarian uses. She goes through various vendors online to determine the reading level of books, the interest level of books. So she does an extensive process for all the books. There's over 1,000 books in the library. This particular book had only been checked out, I believe, by 1 or 2 students over the last 5 or 6 years. So it's been in the library for a few years, but only 1 or 2 students checked it out. But again, in the middle school, we want the interest levels of the books to be 6 through 8. And this book's interest level was beyond 8th grade. And that is the only reason why it was removed.
Any other comments from the board? Moving to finance. Can I get a motion to approve all of the items under finance?
So moved. Second?
Online voting is open. The motion unanimously passes. I'm closing it.
There will be no executive session tonight. And can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll move that.
I was gonna say, nobody wants to leave?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.